So what's my story? On the 15th of June, I just got home from watching our children in the annual school sports day. My wife was standing, asking me, pleading me not to go. I was like, I need to go. I need to go and deliver this training for the new team we've got in the new region of our company. Mark, please don't go. You look exhausted. Your back's hurting. I was like, Fiona, I'll be fine. I'll be okay. 2 hours later, I arrived at the hotel. I managed to unpack my belongings and take them to my room. I was Googling at this point for an emergency chiropractor, thinking that my back was just in spasm and that with a bit of releasing, it would get better. Unfortunately, it didn't. I ended up calling an ambulance. She asked me after about half an hour, do I want to go into hospital? And I thought to myself, I think I better go to hospital. I think that's the safest place for me right now. I hadn't told anybody else where I was or what I was facing. I arrived at the hospital. The nurse tended to me. They took my blood. I was like, why are you taking my blood? I've got backache. I just need some painkillers, surely, just to release this agony that's now in my ribs. It was affecting my breath and I couldn't lie down and I was just crumbled over. I thought I'd start on the weakest painkiller, so at least I could give myself the chance of delivering this training the next day. Looking back, it was like, how stupid was I? So, at about 3 o'clock in the morning, the doctor comes in and he says, you're gonna have to stay in. He said, your bloods aren't right. I was like, what? The first thing that came into my mind was that my mum died of cancer 2 years before. And I watched her go. And her bloods weren't right. And now he's telling me my bloods aren't right. And it was at that point there I decided to take the strongest painkiller, which was morphine. So off they wheeled me to the ward. And there I was writhing around on the bed, taking shots of morphine. Unfortunately, it wasn't shots of tequila like it was the few weeks before. By 10 o'clock, the doctor knocks on the door. One of my best friends, big rock of a man, South African man, Roy, was sitting there by my side. He said to me he'd never seen anybody in so much pain before, and I was writhing around on the bed. The doctor walks in and kneels next to us. He puts his hand on my leg, and he says, Mark, I've got something to tell you. You've got acute leukemia. And in that moment, it was almost like the gold-plated hamster wheel I'd created for myself. The engine blew up and I fell off. And there I was, lying in a bed. My wife didn't even know where I was, because I just wanted to get this hand up. Strangely enough, it was almost like a moment of peace for the first time. So then ensued 3 months of the most toxic treatment exposed to humans in the cancer world, or one of them at least. And it's what they call a full intensity stem cell transplant. And I was always looking at what other ways I could support myself through this healing journey. And perhaps even, was there a pathway off to a more natural or more holistic route to my healing? But given my own personal situation, the type of disease, my pathway had to involve the traditional or the modern allopathic medicine. I had 2 months of increasingly dosed chemotherapy, which ended up with a weekend, 48 hours on a drip, where I had high-dose chemotherapy. The 4 subsequent days was full-body radiotherapy twice. They turn the machine on the side and they fire it through a Perspex sheet into my body, and I had to turn over a bit like a spit roast. On the 4th day, my brother's cells were brought to me in my room. my sister. And 5 nurses were standing to attention, ready for anything that might happen, when they infused me with my brother's stem cells. Luckily, they started to take. It took 4 weeks. Now, little did I know that I was the fastest person to have a stem cell transplant and get out of the hospital. And for 2 of those weeks, or at least 10 days, I was on what you call total parental nutrition. My whole digestive system was completely affected by all the chemo and the full body radiation. And you can see a photo of me, what I looked like, just 2 months after the treatment. I lost all my weight. You can see my face was drawn, but at least I had the beginnings of a new immune system and I was starting to come back to good health. The new year came, ready for new adventures, right? Days like yesterday make you remember why life is so good. Playing with the kids, having fun. Today I've got to go to hospital to get what they call my MRD results, which basically means you're minimal residual disease. Now, it doesn't matter how strong you are sometimes. Not being here to support your family and kids. Sometimes it's a difficult realization. And on the 12th of April, I was in the hospital on my own, having my regular checkup. And I got told it was coming back. The disease was at 18% within my bone marrow again. And at that point, I said, look, don't tell me what the revised prognosis was. I know it was 50-50 before. I'm just going to focus on getting better. Whatever the slim chance of me getting better was, that was all I was focused at doing. Fast forward 4 days, and I was sitting with a naturopath. And to that point, I'd been sitting on the fence. Maybe my disease just was one of those things. So I need the doctors to fix me, right? I was looking for other things to help me on my journey, but I hadn't found the one thing that was going to change my life forever. So at that point, I took full responsibility for my own life. I got off the fence that at some point I was a contributing factor to me getting cancer. Now, I've learned so much more in that process. And to get me from where I was to where I am now, I've been on a complete life transformation.